What's up, guys? Welcome back to Studios, as today we're covering another remake, which are going really strong, and I thank you for this. Today we're talking about The Business by Tiesto. So let's dive into the project. So I have to say that for this remake I've been, in an easy mode, because there was a contest of the business for doing a remix. So I downloaded the stems, so I had a clear vision of what to do. Although I didn't use any of the stems beside the voice, the result is this.
Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this. So let's get down to business. Let's get down to business. Give you one more night to get this. We've had a million nights just like this. So let's get down to business. Yeah.
I'm really happy with this because I think it's quite similar, so I kind of nailed it. So let's see how I started the project. First, I started with a kick because it's a really easy kick from a bank of future house kicks. I needed it to be punchy and clean, so this is the kick. With a bit of processing that I always do, so I will not explain anymore. So go back to my first videos to see how I process kick. Then I added a little bit of transient just to cut a little bit of the punch. Then I started with the bass, as I always do. And I started especially with this, which is a kind of mid bass, and it sounds like this. So this bass is basically has two oscillators, one on init and one on master 3, which is here on spectral. And then the trick about this bass is very easy, because I have an envelope here, I have an LFO here, and the envelope is affecting the cutoff, so it has a little bit of attack on it, so it sounds a little bit slappy. Then I made a little bit of processing into the preset itself. So we have hyperdimension, distortion, compression, EQ, reverb, chorus, and the filter. And as you can see, also on the filter, the envelope is going up. So we have kind of movement of the filter. And then I EQ'd it, so without an EQ, it's really heavy. So I try to maintain only the mid-hug part. Then I used an amp from Waves, and it's basically it's a preset that I always use for the bass sounds, but I thought it would be nice to have a bass sounding like a guitar, so I used it for it, and I'm pretty happy with the result. As you can hear, it is very fuzzy. Then I've added a little bit of EQ more and a little bit of reverb with the basic reverb Ableton. And then I started processing also the sub bass, which is always the same process with our bass mono on 50 Hz. Really easy. And then I added this contact made with the Scarby Rickenbacker bass. I've already explained why I do an audio when I use the contact, because there is a bit of latency, so I can just resample it and drag it a little bit behind the grid, so it's on time. And as you can see, it's really powerful. It's a pickup bass. Also, I've added a little bit of amp as the previous bass, this time with an activator default. You can see the difference without it and with it. Very crispy. Then for the latest part, I've added a little bit of attack with the percussion, which basically is a bass, but I treated it like a percussion. Then I have all these 4 basses, which sounds like this. And it started sounding really nice. Also with the kick, then I've grouped it, then I added a little bit of sidechain, compression with the auto-comp, which is one of my favorite. I already talked about it. And then a little bit of EQ more, just to enhance some frequencies on the 200 Hertz, 210. Then I proceed creating the little pluck, which is in the track, and this is how I made it. It sounds like this. I made it with an analog BD synth and a little bit of noise, and the trick behind this is the automation on the cutoff, as always, which I did with the 3rd envelope, and again with the distortion, reverb, EQ and compression, and not too much because I've also put a reverb on the end of the chain, but there is an EQ, there is an Uber mode by Valhalla, 2-tap chorus, and I played a little bit with delay and feedback at 0, so I had an immediate response with a 67% mix. Then a Saturn to increase the mid part, a little bit of saturation on it, a little bit of EQ more, and the reverb. I'm really happy with it. I have to say, overall it sounds like this. I love the part when it goes down here, because it really has its, it's a kind of vibe going down as a percussion, basically. So I started to feel that something was missing, and I had to check on the stems to see how basically they did all the atmosphere behind the track, because at first I thought it was all a matter of vocals, but it's not, because we have a little bit of a pad in the beginning, which is it lasts a little longer, and I have this sound with the M1. This preset is called pad strings, and it sounds like this. Really basic, no sidechain, no nothing. It's just to to follow the vocal guide, and as you can see, without the vocal it sounds nice. Just have to follow the first part of the vocal. So let's get down, and then it stops.
Let's get down to business.
Really interesting how they made it. And the other part, really interesting part, is the effects that they put into the track. For example, I don't have the exact effects they've used, so I listened to that. It was this one, and I tried to replicate with a little bit of effect loops. It's not very similar, but sometimes it's just a matter of choice. So you just have to choose what is best for you. And I thought this one could be a good replacement. I processed it with the reverb, a little bit of distortion with the decapitator, and Uber mode, which is becoming a must in my projects, and EQ and a Supermassive by Valhalla, which is kind of delay reverb work, and it sounds really nice. Then I added a little bit of FX more, just a matter of uplifting stuff, which you can easily find pretty much everywhere. And I started playing with the drums. Drums are basically, you see the original drums here, and I replaced it with the clap. Very basic clap with a little bit of reverb on the chain. Then if you listen carefully, there is another clap in the background. It's going a little bit left, so the clap, it sounds like this. There is a bit of response. And then you start to do some effects with another clap, which is a basic clap with all the delay, and I just had the delay here made with a crystallizer, and as you can see, the setup are really easy to do, and it's resampled, so I have all the delay in one audio channel, so it sounds like this. It's kind of shifty delay. It's really nice to hear, also with all the drums together. Has a little bit of enhancing the drums, and I thought it would be very fun to use, so I'm planning to use it in a lot of tracks. Then we started with the second part of the drop. Basically, the drums are pretty much easy to do. We have a crash. Just to be a layer. And I go on with all the stuff I did on the claps, and I also add this prophet here. Which is part of the Arturia, and it's really nice. I played a little bit with all the presets I have, and I found this Selm glass organ, which is really nice. Sounds like someone whistling into a bottle of water, an empty bottle, and I just resampled because I've added a little bit of vinyl crack in this part, and EQ, a little bit of EQing just to maintain this part here. As always, I use my Super VHS from Baby Audio to add some magic, and of course a little bit sidechain, this time with a kickstart. No need to draw another sidechain from scratch. So
let's get down to business. Give you one more night, got this. We've had a million.
As you can see, it's really filling the space. And the last thing I thought I had to add into the project was this. It's a kind of trumpet. It's from Diva, which is a very big plugin, a very big VST. I highly recommend. And it's called FMR Juno 17 brass. So it's just to have a little bit of spiciness on the overall bass. You can see. Just adding a little bit of flavor to it. So let's see overall.
Let's get down to business. Give you one more night, got this. We've had
As the majority of this kind of tracks, you have to add very carefully through the project. So if you do the first part, you slowly add some crashes, some hi-hats, and then on the second part, you have also to deliver all the possible effects, layers, just to be sure that the track is full enough. And this was The Business by Tiesto. I really enjoyed it, and I really think I'm very close to the right making of this track. So if you have any questions, any comments, drop down there, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to see more video coming to next week. See you next week. Ciao!